I gotta tell you. Oh, by the way, it's Mark Linney with your video thought for the day. Now back to where I was. I gotta tell you. There was a day recently where everything just seemed to be going great. I mean, it's one of those super days where you think it's just like great to be alive. And then boom, like that, it went south. Got some emails that just left you with this, oh, mercy, I got to deal with this now? Last thing in the world I wanted to deal with. And everything that was just going super, just as like when you were a kid with a bicycle and a stick got put in your wheels as you were going around. It was a jolt. And it brings up to me the subject of today's video thought for the day. And it's basically one about embracing life's seasons. There's a marvelous passage in a book of wisdom called Ecclesiastes. And in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, the first number of verses talk about to everything there is a season. And there's a time for everything under heaven. The Byrds, I think, made a real big song out of that, like in the 1960s, for those of you old enough to remember and young enough to remember. Anyway, it's a wonderful passage because it teaches that all of the contrast between a time to plant and a time to harvest, between a time to laugh and a time to cry, a time to live and a time to die, all of those contrasting parts of life are integral to God's design for life. It's just part of the life we live. Our life is set up in seasons, and just like there are seasons in the year with summer and fall and winter and spring, so there are seasons in life. And the goal for us as followers of God is to find God's purpose in each of those seasons. So you'll find every season has its purpose. It's the same with the weather seasons. The summer is a time for growing, and a time for harvesting is in the fall. And winter is a time of rest for the soil and recuperation and breaking it back up. And then spring is a time of bursting forth in life. In the same way, these seasons that we face as people in our own lives serve a purpose and a function, not just in developing us individually, but in developing society and those around us and those we love. As we age, our children take more care of us. When we're younger and our children are babes, we're taking care of them. It's all part of that cycle that finds purpose under God for each of those. So I like the way this is summarized in Ecclesiastes 3, I think it's verse 11, that says, God has made everything beautiful in its time. Now I say this because some of us are in tough times and some of us are in great times. Whatever times you're in, it's a time to not only trust God, but to seek how God makes things beautiful, even in the midst of the time you find yourself. It's a wonderful bit of wisdom that's given to us from thousands of years ago. But I want it fresh for me today, and that's why I've made it your video thought for today.